Okay, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us for the Independent Agent Peak Performance webinar. This is John Gootee from Breakpoint Technology. That's here. I'm a Senior Managing Consultant at Breakpoint Technology. I'm joined today with Kyle Prater from Prater Insurance Agency.
Hey, thanks, John.
Hey, you're very welcome, Kyle. Thanks for hopping on with us today. Just a quick note, just about Breakpoint Technology. So Breakpoint is a gold partner systems integrator with Microsoft. We have a variety of areas that we specialize in: portal solutions, collaboration strategy, analytics, custom development, and really a whole host of Microsoft 365 solutions. That's kind of quick overview of Breakpoint Technology. You can navigate to breakpoint.technology on the web to see a full listing of case studies and examples of the kinds of services that we do. And then Kyle, your insurance group, you've been around for a while. What's kind of the backstory on your organization?
Yes, well, so what we've done is we've grown over the last 20 years into a situation where we started out really specifically working with one particular carrier. And over time, we found that our customers were demanding that we be able to offer other opportunities to them and other products and services to them. And so we expanded out. And then what I ended up doing was really truly looking for a partner that could come up with using their expertise in today's technology to really give me an advantage in the marketplace itself.
Right. And Kyle, so kind of further setting that context for us, the reason we're gathered here today is really kind of this evolution of things that have happened. So Prater has been working with Breakpoint for several years on providing, the insurance that Breakpoint uses. And as part of that, I've got to know you and your business and kind of some of the things that you run into. And what we've been working on together is a tool set that really it tries to streamline some of the things that you have to do as an independent agent to run your business, right?
Yes, sir. So using your expertise, that especially over the last few months, I made a request to see if you could kind of help us in the projects that we were looking at going forward in the future. And so, one of the primary things that we found was that our prospecting really needed to be worked on a little bit in order to control it from start to finish, taking it all the way from a cold market all the way to warm or through the warm into a really hot lead. So that's what really brought this about.
Right, right. And when you're saying prospects, you're talking about any of the companies that you're looking at to maybe try to do some business with in the insurance space, whatever those services are that you're providing. Those are some great candidates that you're going to pursue.
Yes, and so it's what I've found over the last 20 years. The foundation of sales really is how we generate, how we track, how we follow through with our prospecting techniques. And so, we went from the last 20 years where we used to use Rolodexes, and in my case, I remember the old shoebox method where you would throw in a business card into the shoebox and go back and try to reinvent the wheel, all the way up to today's market where technology is driving so much to be out in front of the customer and to make sure that your face and your agency's out in front of the customer. So, this technological explosion is what's really drove us to kind of design this a little bit more and for you to help me develop it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for your team, so in that independent insurance agent space, what do those teams look like across the country, across the state of Kentucky, for example? Like what do the size of those things look like?
Most of the independent insurance agents out there, they are an army of one for the most part. You will have situations where these independent agencies may be up to where they have 3 to 4 sales agents, and then they'll have maybe 1 or 2 people in the office. So it's a really small team, much like kind of what the military designs. It's very effective where you get small team environment where everybody's communicating, and it really becomes productive for that team if they have the right tools to use it.
Right. And can you give us a minute or so on over the last year, everyone has been through a lot of changes with how they have to do business because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and just some of the rules that have been put out there for us to how we have to do business together. So how has that impacted you?
Well, that leads into my next point, John, is that truly the foundation of growth of any team, especially in today's technological world, along with COVID being thrown into it, typically is that foundation of growth has to be the technology and using that technology. And so in order to remain competitive with the larger agencies out there, we need to truly be able to manage our anywhere from our marketing to our prospecting, and being able to pick up on those leads to be able to acquire more business in a timely manner.
Right. And so the business of insurance, there are a lot of things that happen in that industry on a on a frequent basis. So keeping up to speed on that changes within your industry, is that a big part of your time where you having to kind of understand and stay up to date on the regulations and things you need to adhere to?
Yes, and so you got not just the regulations, but as you kind of alluded to in that last question, talking more about the whole environment of the pandemic and the transition and the transformation of the insurance industry in general. The larger insurance companies out there are having many of their people work remotely, and within that remote situation, there's a big need to be able to talk across EDI feeds and different things out there that I'm sure you'll in a further on presentation we can kind of talk about those. But with COVID and the challenges that's brought to our industry, certainly technology is definitely driving the ability for small insurance agents and agencies to be able to market themselves in a much more rapid fashion.
Right. Right. Very good. So Kyle, I'm gonna shift over to this quote that we found in one of the insurance journals. And as you kind of look at this, when you see some of the things we were highlighting in here as far as digital strategy and creating paths forward, when you see this, how does this resonate with you and running your business?
It was it was really interesting that we found this, because you'll remember we started this probably back in the May timeframe, May or June, when we were discussing this. And a lot of the things that you and I have went through when we kind of researched this concept, this kind of fits into exactly what we've done over the last 6 months. It truly is a time where independent agents and agencies are really truly struggling to find, how do we communicate with our clients or our potential clients. And so this statement, I don't know that it could be any more true to what a small independent agency is going through right now.
Right. Great. And that feeds into really this piece and the evolution of those things. So we started talking about this concept of peak performance and this solution that we're going to look at here pretty soon. And where Breakpoint technology really comes along to help an organization like Prater Insurance or any other kind of independent insurance organization is, we want to kind of give you some things to help with the management of those problems and making those problems better that we've been talking about. So number one, that business growth piece. So we have a set of tools that we're going to look at today that really help with that business growth. So it's managing that pipeline of prospects, making sure that that's front and center, because that really becomes the lifeblood of your organization, right, Kyle?
It does, and that is the foundation of all sales, is through that prospecting and getting those folks in the door. And then, of course, with the growth part coming from the technology that's featured, and the technology support that comes through an organization like Breakpoint, allows us to be a lot more effective.
Right. And as we look at this, a couple of things to keep note as we go through here is we're trying to make it as easy as possible to interact with your customers. So the things that you do on a regular basis, we want to make those things as easy as possible for a small firm to be able to crank through those quickly. So you're not spending time on things that are repetitive. You can spend time on the relational aspects, building those relationships, keeping on top of the business world that evolves around the insurance industry. And really letting you focus on your business, not on the IT aspect. I mean, when you came into this industry, it wasn't your intent to be a master of IT, I don't believe, right, Kyle?
Well, that's the perfect that question is just perfect for what I was getting ready to talk about, John, because what happens is that our focus is in taking care of our customers, looking for that next customer. We don't necessarily have the eyes and ears out there of what's going on in the technological world. And so as these things and these new innovative strategies come forward, folks like yourself at Breakpoint are able to really look and see, okay, how can we make this work for our independent agent out there? And you're able to throw these ideas back to your customers to where it may give them a competitive advantage out in the field.
Right, very good. And one other piece I'll just call out here related to all this information. So when we're talking in terms of insurance, insurance is people, right? So we have information about people that's involved in all this stuff that we're talking about. And so that becomes real important that we keep that kind of information secure. That's always front of mind when we're talking about any of this information that we're capturing, storing, or using, is really making sure it's secure, because these people are your assets really within your organization, and we need to make sure that all that information is secure and safe.
Yes, security is one of the things that a lot of carriers are actually taking a lot more serious at this point. And from the old going back into the years past, we didn't really think much about. We always heard about personal information, but we didn't really take it as serious as what it has become. I mean, the advent of technology has really made us kind of ramp up to the idea that we've got to be secure with our people's sensitive information.
Great. Okay, Kyle. I think I'm gonna transition over to start looking at some of the things we've put together to support all these prospecting and the collaboration and information sharing that we've been working on over the past several months. As we look at this, we're going to focus in kind of these four areas. One is prospect management. So we're going to show you some tools to really organize and keep on top of that body of prospects that you're trying to manage to bring business in. Communication tools, I'm going to show you some things that we have inside the platform that are going to help you make some routine communications and tracking of that communication easier. Organization of content, and just collaboration. So those are kind of the four areas we're going to focus in on as we go through some of this demo as we look at our prospecting environment. So I'm going to shift over here. Sorry about that. Get over to my demo screen. Okay, so this is we're in a sandbox environment right now where our application is running. That's why it says sandbox at the top. And what I'm looking at right now is a list of all the active prospects that are in place right now for my organization. Across the left, over under prospecting, this is our main area of information that we're working with. So inside this tool, we have this concept of prospects, which Kyle described earlier for us, which is really, these are individuals who we're looking at for some products that we're trying to sell related to the services that the group would offer. We also have accounts and contacts. So accounts are just really companies. Contacts are the people within that company. And then we also have this concept of activities, which activities can span across any of these entities. It's really things that we're doing, interactions we're having with prospects, accounts, or contacts is really what those things all really entail. And Kyle, so let me ask you a question. So when you're starting to do your prospecting, do you sometimes get like a list of prospects that you would get from some external kind of lead provider or carrier system that you would want to work?
Yes, what I do is I'll typically go to I'll go to one of these companies that really has a way of going in a trip. For example, maybe there's different programs out there. I'm going to use one, for example, maybe like a Sales Genie or something, where you go out there and list a zip code, and it tells you, okay, these particular companies are in that particular zip code, and you basically just kind of auto fill that information into this prospect tab, and then you're able to take it from start to finish from there. But yeah, I mean, it may be there's multiple different ways to attain those potential cold leads or those cold prospects.
Okay. And so in this example, I'm going to assume that you maybe work with sales. You have a list of people, and we're going to bring those into the system. Now we're going to just import this from a comma separated file. Now we have some other formats we can use. For our demo today, we're just going to use a comma separated file. So here's my prospect import. Open that up, and from there it's going to ask me a couple questions. How's my file set up? Do I want to check for duplicates? So sometimes if we're, have done this a couple times, maybe there's duplicate entries in there. It'll kind of help us figure that out. This is going to give me a chance to review the fields. So here on the left, these are the fields that are in my file. And over to the right, these are the things that are tracked inside of our prospecting tool. And in this case, of course, I've geared this up for an easy demo. These fields on the left are named the same. They could be named differently. Doesn't really matter. You're just really going to be mapping this information from whatever your spreadsheet is or your comma file. You're going to be mapping that right over to the dynamics fields that are define what a prospect is. So from here, I'm going to click on Finish Import. That'll start doing a pull-in of my import. It'll say that it's been submitted. It'll take a moment for that to process. But really what I want to do now is I want to understand, so as an agent, as an independent agent, I want to understand what's my body of work really look like for me right now. And right now I have a lot of individual entries out here. These are all my individual prospects that I can be working. I want to get kind of a visual representation of some of this stuff. So I can look at all my active prospects. I get a perspective now. What are these prospects really, what are they really made up of? So I have 351 enrollments that are for dental, 326 for healthcare, 588 for life, and 125 for supplemental insurance coverages. Okay, now this is just kind of one perspective of all that data. If I wanted to look at a different view of this, I could say, what about by carrier? So what carriers are most of my prospects kind of focused in on? And as I look across here, I can real easily tell that Anthem has the most people enrolled that I'm dealing with. So if I click on one of this will show me these are all my prospects over here on the right that are focused on Anthem. And then from here, I could work those as I need to. Now, within our environment, right now I'm looking at all active prospects. There may be a circumstance where independent agency may have a couple folks that work there. So maybe all these leads don't belong to one person. We can real easily kind of tailor this to be just the ones that are assigned to me. So I flip this over to my active prospects. And now this is really just showing me, it's showing me just the prospects that are assigned to me individually. Instead of everything, it's just the ones that I'm the owner of. We have this concept in the prospecting tool where I can tag someone as an owner, and this gives me a real easy way to assign a prospect to a specific person if there happens to be a couple folks that are working within the team there. So we have a variety of different ways we can look at those prospects. One of the things, what becomes, Kyle, when you're looking at your leads, what's the thing that really kind of drives your activity as far as when you need to start digging into that prospect?
Well, generally speaking, we want to have some type of relationship with that prospect. If they reach back out to us via email, or whether they reach back to us from phone call, or maybe we're able to touch them via phone call, it's the contact that we have with that agent the contact that the agent has with the prospect that's kind of going to drive the actual process itself.
Sure. Okay, very good. And then one of the things, so we had a bunch of prospects there that could be spread out over time. And one of the things that really drives that prospect information is the renewal date, because we need to know that date when this insurance and that coverage needs to be renewed. And this has given us a perspective of the things that are really coming due in the next 90 days is what we're drilling into here. And from this, I'm going to look at this particular prospect that I have set up. I'm going to close my graph right now. And I'm going to look at this organization called Willbilly. We have a prospect out here for Willbilly Incorporated. And so this is one of the prospects that we brought in that we've been working with. And from this, I can tell a couple things right out the gate. I can look at my main information here. So I have the contact information for the prospect. I have the phone number, email address, what carrier they're with, the type of insurance that we're talking about. Here's the renewal date that we were talking about. For this particular prospect, this is the number of employees or the number of covered individuals, whether it be employees or contractors or whatever. It's the number of covered people. And then we have the kind of prospect it is. So maybe this is an organization that we've had a relationship for quite a while. So it's a renewal for them, or maybe it is a brand new prospect where it's going to be brand new customer that we're working with. Right. And from a communications perspective, this timeline becomes real helpful for me, because you have a lot of prospects that you work at any given time. Is that a fair
That,
assumption, Kyle?
that is fair. And so it does help you prioritize as to whether or not that prospect should be top on your list to try to continue that dialogue with. So
Absolutely. And so what we have is this concept of a timeline for each one of these prospects. This is going to show me all the interactions that have happened related to that prospect. So I can look here on the 8th. I can see that I sent a renewal reminder to this customer and sent them an email with this information in it. And then here, this is their reply back to me. It says, yeah, this looks great, Sherman. I've already picked up a time to move forward. So what's convenient about this is, in addition to those responses being in my regular email, they're getting attached in here to our prospecting tool, so I have information all at my fingertips related to this specific prospect. Lets me see everything that's going on at one time. Related to that, so we built out this prospect information. We have this information captured about the prospect. So what we want to try to do now, anytime we have to use information about this prospect in any documents or correspondence, we want to reuse that so you don't have to type it in again. That's one of the big things that we really want to do with making things easier and more streamlined for you. And I'm going to show you an example of a Word document that we can pull up that's going to integrate this information in. So I'm going to just bring up a prospect contact letter. And now the actual content that's in here, this is, you're going to see it and you're going to be like, I can't read that, it's Latin. But this is what we do a lot of times for content in here. Is the things that are important are up here. So this is my contact information. So this is that person's contact name, their title, here's their address, here is the introduction to them, and then here is the body of content that you would put in, Kyle, that's specific to your business and the kind of thing that you're trying to communicate to them via a correspondence. Okay.
yeah,
so
that's fantastic. So if we know that if they've got for example, if they've got a dental and a vision renewal coming up, we'd be able to forward that right on out to them.
Yeah, absolutely. So any contracts or any standard documents that you need to plug that stuff into, these can be automatically generated off that information that you have pulled in. So that can be a nice time savings for you. And we can use that against any of the prospects. Once we have those templates set up, then boom, we can get those out the door real easily. One of the areas that is also really beneficial is with sending emails. So email, we use that a lot for communications, and by having this email in here, we can generate exactly that same thing. And Kyle, I want to show you one cycle of activity here when we're trying to work with these prospects to get some time set up with them. I'm going to do a new email here, and I'm going to bring in an email template. It's kind of the same concept. This is going to go to our Willbilly company. And what I'm going to do here is insert an email template. And this kind of is right what we were talking about, Kyle. When we're trying to get this renewal process. So this is saying, hey, dear Diamond, this is again, all this stuff is pulled off that information we already have. So they have health insurance. It's with Cigna, 23 employees. The renewal date's December 30th. So we really need to get on the ball. And then this part that's interjected here, this is going to give them a seamless way to really do the scheduling of time with us. Okay, so I'm going to send this out, and then we'll go take a look at that link that's in the email. Okay, I'm going to pull up the email once it shows up here in my inbox here. There it is. Okay, so here is my email. This is the email that came out. So I'm in the system, I'm acting as Sherman right now, and this is going to this account. This is the link to, it's called a bookings calendar. And this bookings calendar, so we're sending this out to that prospect to say, hey, we need some time with you so that we can real quickly, so we can quickly set up some time to do our discussion. So if I click on this, it's going to take me to a bookings calendar. Sorry, it's on my other screen here, pulled up here. So this is our peak performance booking calendar. So I can see I need 1 hour of time here to do my insurance renewal. And for tomorrow, like I don't have any time left today on the 10th, so I can't get a time slot today. But I can book 1:30, etc. With Sherman on Friday, or I can go into next week and pick some times here and schedule that out. So it becomes a real easy way for us to work with the scheduling of appointments. Kyle, I know that for me, we do a lot of things together. I use this bookings calendar with you a lot to just figure out the times that we can meet. Works really
It's
well.
a fantastic tool for especially a small agency to be able to do that and have that kind of capability for sure, especially in today's world where we're also trying to do enrollments and you got a small agency maybe trying to do recruiting or enrollments and 100 other things. This is great that they've got that opportunity.
Absolutely, and this is feeding off your calendar too. So if you keep your calendar up to date in Outlook, then it's going to have your updated times on here, and you won't have any conflicts. So it really works really well with the Microsoft the scheduling tool there. So it's a nice win for us. It makes that whole process a lot easier. Kind of with that bookings calendar, what that's going to put in place for us is really a Teams meeting. So I'm going to show this just real quick. If you're not familiar with the Teams platform, Teams is multiple things. It's a meetings platform. It's a way to do virtual meetings. So it's a competitor of like the Zoom and the other kind of virtual meeting technologies, but this is directly integrated into that bookings process. So when they pick that time, it's going to spin up a time slot for a virtual meeting, so that if you are in a position where you can't meet face to face with your your prospects, you can use the Teams meeting platform to do that face to face over the computer meeting, share content, screen share across the board to explain your programs and offerings to those prospects. So it becomes a real time saver.
Yep, I can attest to that, by the way.
So those are another screenshot, some visualization there of what that Teams platform looks like. We're not going to, I'm not able to actually simulate a real Teams call here, but the slides give you a good perspective. We can have multiple people involved, sharing screens, seeing faces, video, real time. Makes it real easy to do those things on the fly, especially in the environment which we live today, where sometimes in person is not as easy as we'd like it to be.
Now, John, it's interesting. I think one point about this also is that some of these things need to be done obviously on your computer just for ease of typing and things of that nature.
Right.
But I've actually utilized my telephone or my phone for that as well.
Absolutely.
So it's a really good prospect, or a really good way of being able to communicate with those clients, because you can handle everything right on the phone as well.
Absolutely. That's very true, Kyle. And we have we'll look towards the end of this. This entire platform that you see is also available on your phone also. So I'll pull this screen up. So all these screens and things that we're looking at, you can see all this information just right on your phone when you're out in the wild, out tracking down prospects. So you have this right on your phone. I can see my list of active prospects. I can get the contact information. I can see this timeline view over on the right. I have full access to all this functionality just right on my phone. And with that, so I want to shift back here and look at a couple other areas. So we've looked some at the prospecting piece. We haven't talked really about the prospecting life cycle. And for that, I'm gonna do a couple things. One, you'll notice here's the email that we sent out. So this is our email. So it got tacked onto the timeline for the renewal. But I had this task here for Sherman. So this was a task that's overdue right now because it was due earlier today. And if I look at this, open this up and look at it. So it says Willbly, they had vision in 2019, but we aren't tracking that as a prospect for this renewal year. So I want to dig into that a little bit because we want to make sure we're getting all the services out there to our customers that they're interested in, that they want to pursue. And so I'm on my prospect record. I'm going to go really now and look at my account record for Willbly. And this is going to take me over to the account information. So, we looked at prospects. So prospects are the individual things, opportunities that we're working for customers. Account is really that roll up of all the information for that account. And if I look under my related records here for the account, I can see all the prospects. So right now I just have the one for Cigna Healthcare is my only prospect I have here. If I look at all my prospects, I can see here that I won a vision for 2019 with Cigna in 2019, but I don't have a new prospect there for them. So that's something that we'll want to add in and go through the cycle of prospecting there. So to do this, I'm going to add a new prospect just right here from the account screen. So it's going to copy in all that information for me. about it being with Willville Incorporated, the email address and stuff. We don't really need that since we're already on the account. But I know that this is going to be Cigna, and I know it's my vision is really the one I'm wanting to try to process. Yeah, there we go. And 123, New Old Night 1231. So I'm going to save and close that. And then with that, I'm going to flip back over here to just my active prospects. So these are the only ones we're actively pursuing. So here's my vision prospect. I'm going to open this prospect up so we can see what our flow looks like for the actual prospect. So when we start off with a brand new prospect, it's really set into this new category. So it's something that we may pursue. We haven't dug into it yet. Once we're ready to further dig into this and get the details around that prospect, we can move it over into the qualify stage. And you'll notice as we go through these different stages, we're really asking you to be certain about different pieces of information. So by the time we get up to the qualify stage within this prospect pipeline, we really want you to have identified the account for sure. We want you to have the specific contact record. We want you to know the renewal date, the insurance carrier, the type, the number of employees, and this is a renewal, the prospect type. So what will happen is if I don't have these things selected, it won't let me get out of the stage. So this is going to show me, hey, you have to have this. So I can't go over and start really trying to close this until I have all this information accounted for and tracked. And that really begins to be how we kind of move through the flow of the prospect. And as we're looking at the different prospects in our system, I can look at them how they are within. I can look at them how they relate to these stages that we're in within the life cycle of the prospect. And we'll take a peek at that here once we get finished with this part. So I'm going to save this out. And then again, my timeline here for this prospect, we haven't really done any communications on this prospect. We can do more activities here to further track and try to win this business. But what I want to do now is I want to shift back over to my account. So I want to go back and look at my account record. I want to show you where we can start to capture some other information about this account. So we've looked at that prospecting piece, which is critical to driving the funnel, driving business, driving revenue within the independent agent world. The other thing is that a lot of times we have a lot of documents that support all this stuff. And what our prospecting application does is it integrates with the Microsoft document management world, which is really a couple parts. So we have SharePoint, which is where we kind of store all of our documents. And then we also have access to the Teams environment. If anyone on the webinar is familiar with Teams, it's really the collaboration engine that's available to Microsoft. And what this really lets me do is it's letting me have a single place for all this account information. So it's my contact information, account information, prospects, and also have any supporting documentation that I need to work this business is all at my fingertips. And underneath here, these are my top level account documents. So I had some things from 2019, 2020 account management plans. I have a OneNote file here that I can use for just taking kind of loose, unstructured notes. And then I have all my prospect information under here. So for each one of the prospects that we have underneath one of our accounts, so here's the 2019 health, 2019 vision, 2020 health. So these are all things that I have documentation for related to those prospects. So here's my 2020 health enrollment worksheet. So this would be maybe the thing that I'm tracking that has all the individuals related to that particular enrollment process that we're trying to work through. And maybe here's my pricing guide, some just supporting information.
Yeah, for some agents that are maybe out there, this is a good place where you can also put census information and things like that out there for easy replies back to your clients. So if they got to update the census, they can obviously do some updates through that as well.
Right. Very good. Very good. And these locations, again, I mentioned that they are within the SharePoint environment. So I'm going to pop over there to SharePoint. This is just a direct link over to that SharePoint environment. We'll look at some of these documents over in the SharePoint world. And the reason I popped over here is that this becomes a real easy way for me to share information. So if I needed to share this specific document with a specific person, I can share it right from here. So I can do it people inside Breakpoint. I can do it with people outside of Breakpoint, or outside of the tenant where this particular application is running. So we have a real easy way to share this information securely with individuals outside of our space. We can send them to them this way through a link. The other option we have for sharing this information is to use the Teams platform. I don't have a lot of time on this webinar to go in detail on Teams, but I will just kind of quickly show you. This is the Teams platform. This is Microsoft's like fastest growing collaboration tool. It's, I think, fastest growing just tool in general at Microsoft, but it's the collaboration platform for Microsoft. And what we have is we have a peak performance team. On the left are all the teams. Underneath the team, we have different channels. So if you remember, we have our account records. So if I look under the files under my account channel, you're going to see all my accounts. So here is my Will Billy company that we've been working on. Here's that same set of documents that you see. And what Teams does is it gives me a real easy way to work with these documents and to make updates to them. So I can have multiple people in here editing this doc at one time. So Kyle, if you have someone who helps with some of the things that you put together for your customers, you definitely can share that information here and use it as a collaboration platform to drive that.
That's really awesome. That's great. In today's environment with everybody working remotely, this is fantastic.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a great point, Kyle. I didn't even mention that part, but these documents really, they're accessible from anywhere where you have an internet connection. You can get to this information. So snow day, there is no snow day anymore. You have to go to work. I'm sorry. So for better or for worse there, yeah. So that's kind of the document piece of the prospecting world. So we have a real nice secure area where we can store all those documents related to the prospecting that we're doing. And we talked about kind of the life cycle of our leads, being able to march them through this process. And I do want to show you that piece. So remember, we were looking at our active prospects, and really what I would be interested in as an agent trying to manage my workload. So the stuff that is due for renewal in the next 90 days, if I do a graph here of that, oops, to click show charts, there's my active prospects I want to do in the next 90 days. And this is going to show me where I'm at in my stage. So if I look at this, I have 21 prospects that are due in the next 90 days that are still in that new phase of my prospect pipeline. Mm-hmm. So prospect first name 6. These are my sample accounts that I put in here. They're terribly named, but so like as an example, this renewal for VSP, it's new. I haven't really started it yet, and it's due within 90 days. So this gives me a real easy way to look and see how I'm doing with these things that are coming due in the near term. Gives me a real easy window into that pipeline.
And so that really does help plan with that 30, 60, 90-day focus in mind, so the agent can really truly hone in on what the priorities are for that period of time.
Yeah, and we can flip that over and too look at that by month too. So I see that of those ones, a lot of those are due in December. We better get busy, Kyle.
Yeah, that's right.
We're behind the 8 ball on these. We better get after it. Okay, so that's kind of our prospecting environment. Now, one of the things we kind of generally touched on, but I didn't highlight, is this activities piece. So with all this activity, all these things that we're doing, a lot of times we need to kind of tag things as follow-up, keep tasks to remind us to do things in the future. And here's an example. This was for the Will Billy. So this is a task that I created. These are all the ones that are assigned to me. So these are ones that I'm the owner of. I may have other activities. If I have multiple people on my team, all activities, they'll show me everything that is either been completed or needs to be done for everyone across my team. But flipping back to my activities, this is that task. I'm done with this now. I'm going to mark this as completed. Actually, here it is, mark complete. So I'm done with that. We got that vision prospect out there and we're working that. So we're in pretty good shape there. Okay. Kyle, anything else you want to highlight in this before we kind of step out of this? Is kind of our prospecting world that we've been working on over the last several months.
Yeah, so I think as we proceed forward and make sure that we take a look at all the prospects, one of the things that I know that I had questions about was, well, what happens after the cycle gets to the very end? Well, the good news is at that point, you're working with that carrier to get that individual enrolled. So and then what you do is capture that data right back into the activities section of the sandbox or activity section of this particular app. And so it is a really, really neat tool. And I think as we go through this, there'll be a number of questions that will probably come up from agents, and I'll be happy to answer those as to how this functions in the real world.
And actually, we'll can take a pause here now as we're kind of at the end of our demo. Have we had any questions that fed in, I wonder? Judy, did you see any questions that came in? Judy may be on, there she is.
No, sorry, needed to unmute for a second. So the questions that we've gotten so far, let me pull them up here. Let's see where they ended up. We had one about what type of licensing is included, John, with this.
Okay, so the foundation of our solution is on the Microsoft 365 Business Premium. So if you're familiar with any of the Microsoft programs, that's one of the licensing programs that we're using as the foundation for all the Microsoft services that you're seeing here. That in companion with the Power Apps licensing. Very good. So then kind of jumping back to our slides here, we'll touch on a couple things as we move in here. One of the pieces I wanted to touch on, it's hard to demonstrate security, but I wanted to call out some of the things that are on the platform that are really helping keep that prospect information, your customer information secure. Number one is MFA. So MFA is multi-factor authentication. This is a real easy way to do to put an extra layer of security over all this information. So within this Microsoft environment, we can enable MFA, multi-factor authentication, so that when someone tries to come in and look at the app, come in and look at their email or the contact information, they are required to do dual authentication on maybe a mobile device or an authentication app. It's a great step to secure things. Some other pieces, one, phishing and spoofing. Sounds fun, but it's not fun. Those are bad things. Phishing is trying to get information out of your organization. Spoofing is when someone's trying to send information that looks like it's from you, but it's not really from you. And so there's some tools on the platform to help with both those things, to target that kind of content that can be surfaced out through email. Antivirus. So in today's world, we're sending a lot of emails, a lot of communications. A lot of times you have attachments to those emails. You'll have links embedded inside those emails. There are, inside our solution platform that's managing your email, we have antivirus that will scan those attachments, scan the safe links to make sure that the things that are in your email that can be clicked on are safe to click on. We touched a bit on secure collaboration. So we have an easy way to invite individuals in to look at the information that's in our environment, or we can send information out to individuals and ask them to authenticate to see different documents and things as we want to share that information. And the last piece is around device management. One of the things that we can offer on the platform is the concept of we can control some of the things that are on individuals' computers that are on your organization, so we can deploy applications. We can, if a machine was to get stolen or lost, there's the ability to remote kind of wipe the device. So there's a variety of device management kind of features that are within this Microsoft 365 Business Premium platform that is the foundation of our solution. And so it's real important to keep in mind you have a strong layer of security that sits on top of all the things that we've looked at today. It is all right there at our fingertips to help with. I know that's an important aspect of the business these days, right, Kyle?
It's extremely important to make sure that you got a very secure method to communicate with those clients. There's no doubt about it.
Very good. I'm going to pull up our next slide here. This is going to, oh yeah, Kyle.
John, there was a question that came up there in the that I think is important. Now, this applies a little bit back to what you went through in the sandbox, but sure. How easy is it to add an insurance carrier, and can I track email addresses and phone numbers for my contacts at the carriers? Now, I don't know about the second part of that question, but I know it's really, really easy to add an insurance carrier into the system because I've done it. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, we definitely can have carriers in there. One of the things we have in there right now is the renewal date for your carriers, because I know that you have to, do you call it a certification, or you have a
licensing or certification? Yes.
Yeah, your licensing or certification.
So we have an appointment process, basically. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, very good. We can track that. And absolutely, if that contact information for the carrier would be helpful to have there, we can absolutely plug that in. That's another great piece of data to add to the prospecting app for carrier management. Yeah, that's really good.
Yep. Okay. Very good.
And then this slide really, so we've talked about a lot of things today, and what I'm trying to do with this set right now is just distill it down into some big bullets so you kind of understand all the different things that we're trying to offer to the independent agent world. So one is the prospecting, and we spend a lot of time on this. So it's the management of your prospects. It's keeping all that information together, managing the pipeline, understanding the activity, giving you tools to streamline all those communications. So we spend a lot of time in there. That's a big part of our demo today. The applications that you get above and beyond the prospecting app is email. So with the Microsoft 365 platform, you're going to get Outlook, Exchange Online, and your Outlook desktop. So that is your email platform. You'll have the full suite of Office products. So Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access, all those tools will be available to you. And then we have, of course, the collaboration suite, SharePoint, Teams. We saw bookings, right, where you can do the calendaring. All that's there. Those are all the applications that kind of roll into our peak performance offering that we put together. From a collaboration perspective, we talked about Teams and really leveraging it for two things. One, collaboration on your documents for sure. And then the second part of that is that whole audio video conferencing cycle. So in our peak performance package, we're really giving you a call-in number that you can use to set up audio video conferencing. So you'll have a number you can give to someone to dial in and join a Teams meeting and do that screen sharing that you need to with customers where you can't be face-to-face with them. This bottom point, the IT expertise, and this kind of goes back to our first part of the discussion, Kyle, where what Breakpoint really wants to do is partner with you as an independent insurance agent, and we want to be your IT arm for all this solution and for this platform. We want to stay on top of that technology. It changes all the time, and it's our job to stay on top of it and understand how the new features that are coming into this platform, how can they be beneficial to a independent insurance agent or advisor? How can these things streamline the job? How can they help make that experience better for you as a business runner?
I think that's a very key point, that having the eyes and ears forward for your organization in the world of technology will do nothing but help you grow.
Absolutely. And then our security piece, we talked about that there at the end, but basically point to take away from there is that we have all of the Microsoft security platform in place above this information to make sure that we're keeping it as secure as possible. Sensitive information about our customers, we want to keep it safe. Very good. And then that's our feature set. And then for pricing for peak performance, we have a couple different things that are involved with that. One is one-time setup fee, so that's $500. And that's going to be setting up your Microsoft environment. It's going to be putting the Prospect app into your environment, getting that adjusted and modeled with your users, getting that in place, initial training. So making sure you understand how to interact with the prospecting app, make sure you understand how to use SharePoint, Teams, the file sharing, get into your email, all the fundamental pieces of using the platform. That's all rolled up into this one-time setup fee to make sure that you're up and going and ready to go. We have a monthly cost. So if there's just one user, the monthly cost is $245 per month. For each additional user, it's $215 per month. So there's a little bit of a difference there. The first person that we bring onto the platform, we have to set them up in such a way so that we get it saves you funding in the long run based on database sizing. So that first user is a little bit more expensive, but then each additional user is just $215. And I tried to break this down into your annual costs and the wording here. So the annual cost for the first year for one user, $3,440, 2 users, 3 users, etc. So this is if you just did 1 year. This cost on the right, this is the annual cost for years 2, 3, 4, etc. It's the per year cost for every year after year number 1, because the $500 you're only paying at once. So that's really what this portion is a little bit different. It has the $500 taken off of it. Okay, and then so the things we talked about a lot of things that are included in the peak performance package. One of the things you may run into that you would want to pursue with Breakpoint would be, so some examples are here. These would things that would be above and beyond kind of your subscription that you're doing. So custom carrier system integrations. So if you wanted to integrate kind of that, the data, the census data, Kyle, that you were talking about, if we wanted to try to do some custom integration with a carrier to get that to flow into them automatically, or to pull information from those carrier systems automatically, that's something Breakpoint absolutely has the skill set to do. And we would just work with individual groups to scope that and figure out what that effort would be. Custom automation. So if you have other things that you'd like to see automated to make your world better, we can absolutely do other customizations above and beyond what we have in kind of the base setup for the subscription. Same thing for any special training requests, any targeted specialized training. We absolutely can include some of those things. We did not talk a lot about phone system. We talked about audio conferencing. So with the peak performance package, you're going to have the ability to set up audio conferencing and have a dial-in number for people to call into meetings. If you needed an actual phone system for your workers, so if you wanted your own phone number and you wanted that to run through your machine, your computer through Teams, we can absolutely facilitate that for you also. Definitely is in our ability to do that. Same thing for domain acquisition. So if you have a custom domain name already, if you bring that with you, we'll set that up into the peak performance solution so that it's using that for your emails and that domain name is leveraged appropriately. If you don't have a domain name, we can help facilitate with getting that set up for you. And of course, if you need additional specialized support, that's an option also. Whew, that was a lot of information there in an hour, Kyle. I think we did a good job kind of conveying where we came from and where we got to.
Yeah, I'd like to take just a quick minute to thank you and Judy for really over the last 6 months helping our business expand in a way that has been extremely beneficial to me to be able to control the information that flows through this app, and I look forward to a 2021 based on the foundation that you've given us. So I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
John, we do have one more question out there. It says, do the prices include all of the licensing? Yes.
The prices include all the licensing for all the solution that we demonstrated today. All that licensing is covered. Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's another really good point. I just wanted to bring that up too, John, because when we started this, you'll remember I had a subscription to this type of environment, a subscription to that kind of environment. We won't go into the names of the companies, but it totaled up to be a whole lot more than what I'm looking at the subscription using through this app. So right. It's definitely a cost saving strategy as well.
Yeah, kind of consolidating all those disparate services into one bundle, get some economies of scale there.
Yes.
Very good. Did we have any other questions that came in, Judy? Is that about it?
Those are all the questions that have come in so far.
Okay, very good. Well, everyone, thank you so much for attending the webinar with us today. Kyle and I both really appreciate it. This slide that you have up here, you can reach us at breakpoint.technology, that website, or you can send emails to john.gootee@breakpoint.technology if that's more convenient for you. The recording we will have the recording here, and we'll be able to distribute that out to the attendees once it's been processed, and we'll actually have that posted on our website. If you want to replay that, or if you have friends that you think would be interested in this, we'd love for you to share that out to them. But with that, we will we'll end about 5 minutes early here. And again, thank you so much for your participation and time today.